Kevin, how you doing tonight?
Doing fine, sir. What about you?
Doing fine. No, it's actually not on the agenda. I just wanted to mention to you, and I don't know if it's necessary for the board to vote on it. I just figured it makes common sense.
No, I think we need that. We talked about that. I think that needs to happen.
You didn't give a video of that or nothing, no.
So he said, did you get a video?
You get a video of that.
Oh, wait a minute, wait.
Let's go back out.
Video, frame video.
Reenact it. So we can see.
How many times I tell my daughter, son, a lot rested, he don't call it couple. What I do, I didn't have daughter.
Oh, I said I wasn't going to tell you.
So you're expecting Commissioner Gibson, since he's supposed to speak.
Yeah, he just said he's a little late, so we'll come back to that. He's coaching people.
All that
Which is a good
priorities
thing.
on.
Yeah, yep.
See if I go up. See it on my server.
Have you met Miss Deaver?
Is it here right here in the middle?
Yeah.
With the flower dress on?
No, I have not.
That's her husband, Gary. He was one of my child support workers. They've been married about a year or less. Anyway, she's the new health director.
Ready for June to be over?
She's on the agenda, but I don't think anybody's introduced her to her.
Most important is in San Francisco.
Your children home? Both of them from summer.
What's her first name?
Elizabeth, Amanda. What's on your, okay.
Home alone. It's different.
So when is it?
Ms. Deaver? I'm sorry, I did not come out and introduce myself to you. I apologize. I have never met you before, I don't believe, and did not know who you are. Glad to have you with us. We're looking forward to your service to the citizens of Scotland County. For those of you who haven't met her yet, and for those of you who will meet her, this is Amanda Deaver, the new director of the Scotland County Health Department.
Glad to have you.
Glad to have you very much. I think you have a part on the program, and I think you have somebody with you. This is your husband. And it's a pleasure having both of you with us tonight. Thank you so much. It is now time for us to start. I know we've been sitting here waiting for a few minutes. Everybody was in place and ready to go. I hate to wait 3 or 4 minutes when everybody's ready, but we will begin now. We'll call this session of the Scotland County Board of Commissioners, the June 6th session, to order. At this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Alford if he would deliver the invocation.
Would you bow with me, please? Gracious God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you now for the beauty of this day. And we ask your blessings upon this county and upon this board and those who are in the audience. And we ask that all we say and do be done to your will and glory. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. If you would stand with me, please, and face the flag as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have, commissioners, before you, you have the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as it stands? I have a motion by Commissioner Alford, second by Commissioner McCall. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. Next on the agenda is a public forum. I will tell you that one of our commissioners, Commissioner B.J. Gibson, he is late, and he has let us know that he will be here. Not sure exactly when. He had planned to speak as part of the public forum, and we will reserve his 3 minutes to that time when he gets here. Is there anyone else, Mr. Clerk, who has signed up to address this group? Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to address the county commissioners? Hearing none, I will cease that portion of our program until Commissioner Gibson comes here. We have a consent agenda in front of us with 6 items on it. Is there a motion for us to approve the consent agenda? It's a motion by Commissioner Golston, second by Commissioner Alford. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as stated, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. The Water Board and the Water Board budget. Mr. Patterson.
Okay, with that, the Water Board, this would constitute as one of your 2 annual meeting, one of your 2 meetings for it. With that, the consolidated water budgets between the 2 are $1.9 million. That is a significant increase over the current year because that does include the $550,000 of state capital infrastructure grant that is put in next. That is part of that's rolled into next year's budget for the Cascades or the Wagram Industrial Park, working at the water tower there, as well as that will wind up funding the lift stations or the generators for the pump stations, which have already been contracted out.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
If we had not received that infrastructure grant, would we have put that 550 in our budget anyway? Either from reserve or from,
Yes, it would have come out of reserves. These are projects that we are already working on.
but we just got lucky. It got.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes, these were dollars that we were already going to use to spend. With that, of course, the 2 largest line items in there in the budget are, of course, water purchases between the 2, which is $530,000. Debt service is another $263,000. The only change to the fee structure is the increase in the tap fee, which again, we match our fees to the city of Laurinburg fee structures, increasing that tap fee to $1,400. Current tap costs $1,285 for the city of Laurinburg to install. So that is the reason for the increase in the tap fee.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
And it will be ultimately up for consideration with the whole budget.
Okay. This will be part of the budget presentation.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, sir. April Sneed, special recognition of the Reentry program.
Good evening. I just wanted to take a few minutes and let you all know that our reentry program received an achievement award from NACO last month. If you recall, we became the intermediary agency for the reentry program in about September of 2019. And since that time, the staff of that program have really lifted it up off the ground, spent that little bit of grant money very wisely to serve many formerly incarcerated individuals or those individuals on probation who are at high risk of returning to incarceration, serve them very well. So if they will come up, we have And I think Mr. Gibson has something for you. NACO is the National Association of Counties. And so, and we have some of our board members here too for reentry. And I guess I'll introduce who everybody is.
Okay.
Let me get out of the way. So we have Monty English. She works for DSS and she's our supervisor of our reentry program. And we have Miss Frederica Husky, who's one of our social workers, and Rob Macy. Everybody knows Rob's been around in Scotland County a while. And so Rob Macy has also been very instrumental since the beginning of this program in Scotland County as a social worker. And we have two of our board members, Ms. Dorothy Tyson and Mr. or Sheriff Percy with us. So we're very proud of what they've accomplished this year and then getting recognized by NACO for their accomplishments.
We have something very small, but we appreciate very much your work. This is for Monty English. Husky, Freddie, I think is how she goes, and Robert Macy. I've known Rob for a pretty good while. National Association of Counties recognized these three with the 2022 NACO Achievement Award for the Reentry Program, Future Folks. Thank you all very much. What I'd like to do is get a picture of the 5 of you, 6 of you, and I'd like to ask all the commissioners to come join me up here as well. Y'all are going to be in the foreground. We're going to be behind. Why don't you three get out? Mr. Robbins, next photograph.
I'll send you a copy of that. Send you a copy of this Lauenburg resolution.
They may have.
Just came in Friday. No, it hit Friday. Done the escrow. Going through the whole harmless.
No, but I don't need to be. You do
We're
fine.
on the deep contract for the house. How many monies that we get? We get a big-
Yeah.
Good job, I guess. I'm trying to figure out what. Obligation.
Thank you again.
You never know.
Yeah.
They kind of waited to the last minute to get the document down here.
I like to say something.
Go ahead.
I worked for the prison system for many years as an instructor at a school there. And I met so many inmates, and I was so concerned when they got out of prison, what was going to happen to them. And the state had never had a program like reentry. And I'm so proud that the state did come up with that. And I'm so proud of Ms. Sneed for the job that you've done. It's a new kind of thing. And you come in and you did a fine job with it. And I congratulate you and thank you.
Next on our agenda, the public hearing on the land use plan.
With that, we do have the land use plan. The copy that was presented to you was actually originally prepared by the Council of Government back in 2008. It was just never adopted or never recommended by the Planning and Zoning Board at that point in time. It does need to be updated for current zoning. I mean, for current population and demographic information in here. But the reason why we did have this is with the current legislation out there, if counties want to have an enforceable zoning ordinance, they must have a current land use plan. And as the last land use plan that has been ratified by the board is in excess of 45 years old. We don't think that qualifies as current. So this one, even though the demographics are probably off by 1 to 2% over the last less than 10 years, we don't think that's a major issue. The Council of Government is, we've already done a contract for them to update the plan. It will be updated this fall. And it will come back to the Planning and Zoning Board after they've updated the all the information in it. And then from the board, at that point in time, the zoning board would make any recommended changes back to the commissioners. So this will be coming back to you within the year for an update, but we need something approved by the board by July 1st.
So statistics are wrong then. They're not accurate.
They're dated.
They're stale.
Well, it took that many years to read this.
But, in the last 8 years, the demographics have changed about countywide by less than 1,000 people in total.
So it's from 2014, not 2008.
Yes.
Yeah.
You said 08.
You said 8.
Sorry, it was 2014, 8 years ago.
Well, we have a planning and zoning board, and I don't know how many of their members are here with us today. I see their chairman, James McMillan. I know that they have worked really hard on updating our ordinances. And I believe that we also knew that we needed to get a land use plan in place because that had to be in place in order for the ordinances to be enforceable. That may be not exactly the right vernacular, but that's how the best I could understand it. We have contracted with the Council of Governments, and they, I think, pretty much told us they were not going to be able to have it ready by July the 1st. At the last Planning and Zoning Board, I believe they met, they did not approve the land use plan that is in front of us today. And I believe their recommendation was that this board not to approve it either. Mr. McMillan, would you like to make a comment, or is that basically an accurate description?
Yes, it is. And I think I won't.
If you don't mind, come up to the microphone.
I'm not going to say some of the words that were said in the last meeting, other than I think we were frustrated because what we were presented was the same thing we were presented in 2014. The only change in that document was the date on the front. And we had anticipated, maybe wrongly, that we were going to see something a little bit different. So we were a little bit surprised that what we saw was the same thing that the county commissioners had not adopted, at least our understanding had not adopted in 2014. And that concerned us. As an advisory board, we know that the county commissioners can read over this and overrule us, but we would like to see what's in the service agreement looks very workable. But what we received, we did not see anything from the service agreement in the new document. And I think we really anticipated something different with updated numbers that we felt like we were being presented, not the same old, same old.
Right.
So at that point, we figured it was time to step back and reconsider things a little bit.
Okay. It was my understanding, Mr. McMillan and I have not had a conversation, but there may have been the thought that the fee had already been paid to the Council of Governments for this work to have been done. That has not occurred.
And we did not have an answer to that. Somebody said yes, somebody said no.
I believe the answer to that is it has not been paid yet. Is that, that's
We
okay.
paid for the zoning ordinance to be updated. We've not paid for this to be complete.
Okay. So my problem is, it seems to me that we're in a predicament if we don't have a land use plan in place, even if it is one that is not as good as what we had hoped it would be, and one that I believe our expectation is it will be updated certainly within the next 12 months and hopefully by this coming fall, that we either go without one until we have one that we believe is more acceptable to us, or we pass the current one so that we can at least enforce the regulations that we do have. Is Mr. County Attorney, would you like to express an opinion?
That's the dilemma you have. if you want to enforce your regulations, you need to adopt this as bad as it is. But I think the board probably should urge the Council of Governments to move expeditiously on getting this work done, even though they've got a year to do it.
Okay.
And I know that the Planning and Zoning Board has spent voluminous amount of time on the subdivision and zoning regulations, and, you know, they are going to be involved in this process too. So I don't want to overly burden Mr. McMillan's group, but I think the quicker you get the updated version, the better.
Well, I think the quicker we get them, the better off we're going to be. I just don't think they're not going to be available by July 1.
No, sir.
So we've got to make a different decision.
I have
Mr. Chairman.
a question.
You mentioned fee. Our annual $26,000 will not cover this fee.
It does not. It covers other programs that we have in, other programs that we have with the COG.
Oh,
Ms. McCall?
Do we need to consider another resource in developing this land use plan other than COG?
I don't know what else is available.
There are other resources
Just
out there
saying, you know,
available.
I think we're getting ready to tread in some waters here that make me uncomfortable. And I'm just wondering if there's another source for developing this that we ought to tap into. I mean, a
Well-
year's a long time, and we're not close to the end. We're just back at the beginning.
That may
No,
not be a bad idea, but you do have a signed contract. at this
I
point.
understand that part. So my question's actually, yeah, we got to get so that we can enforce our zoning ordinances, but I'm really concerned about this plan. We're back to square one.
With,
Well-
with the plan, the COG will have the updated information this fall.
Did they not have it last fall?
They were working on the zoning ordinance last fall.
Okay.
Say what you just said. The COG will have the updated demographic information,
They will update the data in the plan this fall.
which
and
means,
present that back to the zoning board for them to work with.
and from when from that does the land use plan come about?
Yeah.
Is that the land use plan?
That is the land use plan.
Okay.
It's not only data or whatever the plural for that is, it is recommendations about
Yeah.
how that applies to Scotland County, not to all 100 counties, but with particularity to our situation.
And that is what the COG would be recommending to our planning and zoning board as to how the regulations should be
Well,
written or
the
interpreted.
goals, the
Okay,
goals, the goals for development and how best use the resources of the county. And frankly, the old, what you're adopting tonight had some very mushy general goals. I think that would be, do you have any way to describe them?
If you look at the legislation, they don't specifically say it has to include this, 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 and this. They are recommended items to include in the land use plan. So that's up for the individual counties to look at and determine. Now, Scotland County is not that dynamic a county. And if you look at Hope County or Cumberland County and some of the others, their land use plan is just humongous. And it takes in so much more than I think Scotland County must consider it currently. I don't think it's going to be a great deal to take what they have presented to us. I would like to see more specific and more goals and objectives than they have put in this proposal. I don't think they've carried that quite far enough, but there's Mr. Patterson had a technical aspect about this with the date. And I have looked at it and tried to confirm what you were saying, that we had a land use plan. Yes, we had one from 1977. There's nothing that says that we cannot use that to base doing this and not have to worry about the July 1st date. It's a technicality because we do have one in place. Granted, it's outdated, but there's nothing in the legislation that says that we can't use that as the current land use plan. And then we don't have to key on that July 1st date. It gives us time to do what we have to do without that sense of urgency. I don't like that technicality, but it is a technicality that lets us off the hook. The way I interpret it.
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Johnson?
I was just gonna say, I think you go from having stale information to super stale. I mean, if it's all the way back to 77, I mean, I don't like this any more than you do. I mean, you and I have had that conversation.
Yeah.
2 or 3 different times, but, you know, I think we may be a tad better off having one that's 12 years outdated or 13 as opposed to maybe
45.
50.
Well, that brings up another question because they're supposed to have 30 days for review. And we're already within that 30-day period.
We have a July meeting on the 11th.
Right. Well, and there in our board package is I assume it's a memorandum from the council, from either the School of Government or the County Commissioners Association dated May 31st. And it's basically says if you don't have one, you need to get working on it. If you've got an old one, you need to adopt something that's more recent. And if you've got one that's within the last 10 years, you can live with that as long as you're working on the other one. So it almost seems to me that if we've got some that's dated 2014, from a legal standpoint, we may be better off approving that one, knowing that we will have something new, better and improved, hopefully within 6 months of July 1st. But that's just one person's opinion.
And again, as an advisory board,
Right.
I think I could speak for the planning and zoning that we could probably live with that as well.
Okay. Well, I told both of these gentlemen I was not inclined to overrule your vote last month because y'all have worked too hard on this, but I would hate to see us not do anything and somebody try to attempt to do something within the confines of our county that our regs would not prohibit them from doing, and us not have a land use plan that would be enforceable enough to keep us protected. So,
Sometimes exceptional circumstances
yeah,
take exceptional actions.
and none of that
We can
diminishes.
do it legally.
Yeah, none of that diminishes the good work of your committee and those on that committee. Y'all have done a great job, particularly with some of the subdivisions and some of the other stuff. So thank you very much. Thank you for you and your committee, Jim.
You need a motion for this to be approved?
We still need to have the public hearing.
Deal with it.
Okay,
I'm asking.
yeah. Is the public hearing is on the regs or on the land use plan?
Land
On
use.
the land use plan.
Okay. The land use plan has been made available for inspection. Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard in regard to the land use plan dated 2014, which is subject to be approved by this committee this evening? Anybody here who wishes to speak in favor of it? Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to it? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing on the currently proposed land use plan. Is there a motion before the board?
I move that this.
You move that we approve the,
Approve the
Okay.
land use plan, yes.
we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay.
Next item up is for the general fund, is for the budget. Starting off with a quick summary on the budget. And this is primarily just a few tweaks of what we went over last week, I believe. With that, the general fund is balanced at $50,631,037. It is with my recommendation at a $1 per $100 valuation. With that, that is also based on a standard conservative calculation as well as with nominal changes based on the valuation of the county. The county our county valuation did increase this past year, and it has surpassed $2.4 billion. The salaries, the budget does include a 4% cost of living and a implementation of the salary schedule based on, or an estimate for implementation of salary based on a 1/16/2023. So it would be the February paycheck of next year. The increases in personnel are an increase in the EMS service, the halftime ambulance that is currently stationed up in the Wagram area would be turned to a 24/7 service. Be 2 additional communicators that would flush out. They currently have high demand 12-hour communicators in 911. This would increase those to a 24/7 position, increasing the positions. And it would also add staffing for Laurel Hill Community Center, expected to open October. Those positions will be recruited, so they'll be in play target September 1, so they would have time for training. Capital costs, the one item, there's not a whole lot of significant capital that's not recurring. The one thing that is in here was there is a request from the rescue squad for a new rescue squad vehicle. That vehicle is $600,000, of which is shared between the city and the county. So that $300,000 for rescue squad is in here. So if you're going through that massive spreadsheet that you have, and you see rescue squad has significantly increased, that is a one-time capital item. That is also an item that the city of Laurinburg has specifically asked for state assistance for as well, for the entire $600,000 amount. With this, there are also operational increases just due to the current economy. Increases in motor fuels, primarily in the sheriff and EMS. Increased in food costs in the jail. Those are done by contracts. The jail, as sheriff and jail have gone off and been able to manage the increases over the last several years, but they're still going up. And now that with court opening up, if they change back, they may or may not have the same ability to process inmates as quickly. There's also an increase in medical costs. And just as a side note, probably on the 21st, we will bring up a specific medical cost for one inmate in the jail. That one inmate is over $200,000.
That particular inmate, will he be transitioning to another facility anytime soon?
The sheriff has done his best to has been working diligently to transfer them for over a year.
Okay, thank you.
And you're saying the medical cost already has been
The
$200,000.
medical cost has already been $200,000.
The detention center is not meant to be a permanent home.
Correct. But there are some
I know.
circumstances that are well beyond his control.
I know that too.
Go ahead. He's got to say something. I can hear it.
I just almost be shocked. It's over 3 now.
So, okay.
We got to get rid of him. I'm sorry.
The sheriff has been trying.
Can we post his bail? We actually had him in safekeeping in Raleigh, and they kept him for us for about 6 or 7 months. They released him back to us. That's where we're at. We've been working hard to get the DA to try to go ahead and speed up the process on this case. And, but, you know, I'm not over the DA. So hopefully it'll happen.
Well,
Well, thank you for your effort.
So, but those conditions are absolutely one of many that are well beyond his.
and well, obviously his or our control, it
Yes.
looks like. Okay.
But with that, our total operating costs in between the proposed 23 budget and the original budget passed by you a year ago, the operation costs have in total decreased by $300,000 once we remove the pass-through grant monies that are or the grant dollars that are in the budget.
What do you attribute that to?
Our department heads go off and continue to trim operations as much as possible. They continue to not like me. But it is just continued effort in
Managing costs.
managing costs.
Thank you, sir.
Weren't our sales tax revenue come in at a higher than what we had?
Yes, our sales tax revenues are up. Our property tax revenues are up. And with those are part of the increases, and those cover the cost of living and the salary, and the salary study amount. Also with education, I'm keeping the funding in the recommendation for RCC with no change, and the Scotland County schools at no change in operating or in capital. Just with that, and yes, this is a bit wonky. My recommendation is, of course, to keep the tax rate at $1. The tax department we are starting to plan out to do a revaluation. And we're going to see exactly how that would work out and a good timing for that situation. But with this, this budget was designed in mind for if the board passes the rate at 99 cents as well.
You know we want a reduction. I know that.
I understand that.
Welcome, Commissioner Gibson.
Thank you, sir.
We are on item number 5 on the public hearing for the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget. Mr. Patterson is going over items in the budget.
And of course, just some comparison. And I do have this down to any level of minutia you is interested, but just coming back into some breakdowns on exactly how the general fund is allocated. Of course, since county government is a service sector, a large portion of our operations are salaries. And then operations are in there. And also in this operations amount, I will go ahead and let you know the largest portion of those operating costs are also in our DSS budget because they are a lot of pass-through dollars that we do not control, but they hit our budget. So a large percentage, half of that amount is pass-through dollars. Yes. With the capital dollars, I put capital, but that also includes funding to education.
Total or just the capital?
That capital is capital debt service, incentives, as well as funding for education for the public schools and for Richmond Community College.
We always put education in the capital piece of the pie.
It has not always
I
been.
didn't think so.
Okay, but you're putting all of the money spent on education under capital.
They are for these graphs, yes.
Okay, just for, make sure we all understand this correctly. Up there, the
Just-
2022 is the current budget we're ending that will end June 30th of
Correct.
2022. What's on the left side is the budget that would begin July 1st and end June 30th of 2023.
Yes, sir.
I really like this, putting it on the capital, because when we did it before, it was in poor taste in my opinion.
Okay.
And again, I do have an Excel spreadsheet or I do have a workbook with the entire budget in detail. Copies of it are in the Google Drive, and at any point in time, any commissioners, or anybody else is interested in coming in, I will happily give you more information than you want to know.
Well, I've seen that on that drive. I guess my question, if we're in the public hearing part, I don't even know that, but, how does the general public that want this? I mean, shouldn't it, I know there was a place online for it for years and that, but I don't know if I haven't looked lately to see if it's been updated, but, somewhere that the public can get to it for a public hearing to have on the budget. If they can't see it, then what are they gonna question?
If anybody, if there are any requests for it, we had the summaries that were available. And also we would, if any member of the public, media or anything, if they want a copy of the complete Excel file, we'll make that available as well.
That's perfect. But that may be a little intimidating to some people
Yes.
to actually have to ask for it. Is it possible for us to do, as he said, maybe put a link on our webpage where they can access it?
We can do that. And of course, the agenda packet, which has the summary in it, will be available on our website soon, but we can take the budget portion of that and make that available.
Well, there used to be a page that had that, but I haven't gone in there and looked lately. So I don't know what the last year was, but it was quite a while back. I don't know if it's still on. But that might have been approved budget.
Those are, we have the approved budgets on there.
I think we put it online in the past when we had a proposed budget in the interim between this meeting and our meeting in 13 days to approve the budget. Yeah.
We can post the detail that's in your agenda without the rest. The complete agenda packet will be published, but we can also publish just it as well as have hard copies available if somebody wants to pick them up.
Well, I guess my point to that is do we do a public hearing tonight and they haven't had that opportunity? Or do we just do it on the 21st?
No, you can't. You have to publish for 10 days before you finally adopt the.
Can't publish the draft.
Right.
No, but you have to publish in
I
at
got
least a
what you're
10.
saying.
And the board can take additional comments on the 21st as well.
Right. So you've done what is statutorily required. Okay. I do agree. I think we need to make it simpler and more available. Because if I had to go on there and search, I probably might not be able to.
And
Ferret
if
it out.
anybody came to the Morgan Center and asked for a copy of it, we would provide them a hard copy as well.
Well, I think in today's world, people are used to being able to go online and finding out what they want. So let's make that available as quickly as we can.
The other item, the other primary fund is, of course, the solid waste fund. Total project there is $3,396,900. It does include fee increases, which are due to our annual increases that we pay out on tipping fees. In addition to, at the end of April, we did get a fuel surcharge notice that would begin in July as well. So that increases our tipping fee by $2.75 a ton that we send off. The Laurinburg, City of Laurinburg is developing or has been working on developing their own leaf and limb program where they can manage it within their own property. With that, we're looking to increase the leaf and limb fees, but also looking to waive or have a zero charge for the first 1,000 pounds of leaf and limb that's brought to the landfill. So, which is basically if you're bringing a truckload of, or a truck or a garden trailer load of pine straw, limb debris, storm damage from your house, you're not going to get more than 1,000 pounds of debris on a residential vehicle. So basically what you're going to bring from your house would be free of charge, but a commercial hauler would pay an increased fee. This does also increase the the fee for household garbage that we currently charge the city of Laurinburg. And again, most of that increase is because of the increase in the fuel surcharge that we're now paying. And those are reflected in the increases in the budget. I thought I had the full. I will make sure that the full fee structure is included in the information that we have updated for all of our fee structures. All of our fees will be included in what we make available online.
And I think the city's waiting on our decision on that to set their rate this year also.
This will impact them. And I'll let Charles know that chances are unless something significantly happens, this will be an increase this year to them, and there will be another increase next year as well, just to offset, because we have not increased the fees to the city of Laurinburg in 5 years since we established the contract with them. And we have absorbed regular annual increases in the disposal fees. And that's the summary for the budget.
Okay. At this time, I will open up for public comment. Anyone who wishes to make a statement to the board in regard to the budget that is currently being considered, to be considered by this Board of Commissioners. Is there anyone here who wishes to make a comment in regard to the budget, either positive or negative? Hearing none, I will close that portion of the public hearing as it pertains to the fiscal year budget 2022-23. The COVID update?
The COVID data that I have.
If you don't mind, if you would introduce yourself to this entire group again, as well as the folks who might be.
I'm Amanda Deaver, the new health director, Scotland County Health Department. The COVID numbers that I have, the data goes up to June 1st. And we are trending upward with those numbers. We have moved from a low community level to a medium community level. We currently have 90 positive cases, 2 new hospital admissions within the last 7 days. We have 63% of the population that has received at least 1 dose of the vaccine, and 49% that are fully vaccinated. The American Legion vaccination and testing site closed on May 27th, but we are doing vaccines at the health department every Thursday. And just this afternoon, we also was made aware of an outbreak at one of the facilities where 8 residents and 4 employees have tested positive.
Okay. You said you're doing vaccinations on Thursdays at the health department.
Yes.
Do you need an appointment for that or just come?
No, you need an appointment.
Okay.
And right now we're booked up for the next 2 weeks. So
Okay.
it's like 3 weeks out before you can get an appointment.
You know, when the testing sites will be just the ones,
Ma'am, I couldn't hear
you
you.
know, where they are in the testing site.
We are referring people to Walgreens and Walmart, and there's also a free site in Richmond County.
What,
The local providers, though, are charging a fee. It's not free
For testing.
for testing.
but most insurance covers that. That's what, I don't know.
Some of it, we just had this discussion earlier today. Some insurance do cover it, but they're charging up front, and then the patient has to file.
Can you tell us what the rate is, how much it is?
One provider's charging $260 because they're charging for an office visit, because they're symptomatic, as well as an administrative fee.
All right, well, it doesn't seem like our fully vaccinated percentage has changed much over the last 4 months at 49% seems to be stuck. But my question goes around these cards of how much, and you may not know this. How much of those cards do we have left?
Enough to get through the middle of July, I think. That's what I was told this morning.
I mean, I don't want to get caught. What happens when we get to the end of this and we have a stack of those cards? What are we gonna do? I mean, we gotta do something.
At that point in time, we can't take the money off the cards, I don't believe, but we can go off and use those. We'll find additional
Something else.
programs that we can use those cards for.
I think our last vote on that was we're not buying any, right?
Yeah, I think that was correct.
Once they run out, they're out.
Yes.
Now that's only 6 weeks away. So I don't.
And when you say enough to get through July, how is that determined?
Based on the number of appointments that we have had.
Gotcha.
But it could still also be people coming from Walgreens getting it or whatever, so you don't know. I mean, I don't want to end up with a stack of those things at the end, and then we gotta answer questions, what do you do with these cards?
Never have a problem spending money.
No, that's true.
I can tell you.
We're gonna sign that to John.
Get rid of it.
Do we need to add another maybe half day for appointments? Are you seeing a need for that?
Well, we're booked up for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was thinking about. I guess it's something you can just monitor.
And also, of course, providers are doing it, but it would be part of a fee. But also Walgreens and Walmart are also providing vaccinations as well.
with no
But
fee.
then they're not charging, right?
No.
We just need to make sure people know that
Yeah.
and not go to their provider when they put it on.
To another.
Okay. Any other questions of Ms. Deaver? Thank you very much. And again, welcome to Scotland County.
Quick update with Ellis Johnson. The roofing project has started. Let's see, at least one building is completely gone. The other building should be, we had weather last week, so it should be worked on this week to remove it. We are bringing in the environmental company to go through and do some additional asbestos testing inside of the main building now to make sure that if there's any asbestos that needs to be remediated, we would go ahead and take care of that before we go into any phase with the general contractors.
Shouldn't that book tell? That asbestos book they got, it's like that.
It will tell a lot of it, but there's going to be some areas that we're confident that are not specifically tested, specifically on some of the windows, some of the glazing, caulking. They would have tested and identified anything that they needed to work on. So, Laurel Hill Community Center, there was an update last week on it. But with that project is still currently ongoing. It is still on schedule, and with the expectation that it is to be completed by the October contract end.
I want to go back, IEJ, well, I think Laurel Hill's in it too. We now have that position filled, right? I'm gonna say engineering,
Yes,
but I don't think that's the technical name.
right.
That position, somebody's in that position now.
The offer has been made. I don't know. I can't remember what their start date
Oh,
is.
so we hadn't hired. Okay.
They've not started working yet, but we have filled the position.
Any comments about Ilis Johnson or Laurel Hill? Any questions about the commissioners?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Alford, boards and committee appointments?
Yes, we have two boards. We have the TDA, we have, and I don't have the names, but the applications are in and they all are qualified to serve. There are 4 positions there. We do have the applications, and I recommend we approve.
Jason, do you know those 4 names?
It's 4 that are currently serving, in back.
So it's reappointments.
Yes. And there are going to be some others that are scheduled for, that are going to be on the 21st meeting as well.
I just think we need that name.
Yeah, let's hold those till the 21st.
And the same is with the planning and zoning. We have,
Both those I think 21st.
We do have here, you've got the Scats Transportation Advisory Board, William Tyson.
yes, I have that one.
Would you like to make that motion that
Yes,
we?
I recommend that we appoint William Tyson.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner BJ Gibson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Jason, could you share, you said planning and zoning, and what's the other one?
TDA.
Tourism Development Authority.
And both of those, you have people prepared to recommend.
Well, and I don't recommend,
I mean, the sheriff.
I've got applications.
That application.
But TDA was there 4, they're already, there's a reappointment.
Gotcha.
I have sufficient applications to fill them.
Do you have other applications for the TDA?
No.
Is that somehow advertised on our website that they're, okay.
Everything that's coming up within 60 days is advertised on the website.
And you may have said this, how about planning and zoning?
I have more than enough to fill. I think I have 3 or 4 applications.
And is there a deadline for those applications or?
But that probably the Monday before the 21st meeting.
Okay.
I'll work as soon as possible. And I actually had someone email me today asking a question about that.
Okay. Any other questions from board? Okay. Mr. Commissioner BJ Gibson, you were on the public forum. Are you okay doing that after the county manager's report
Sure.
as we start doing the comments from the commissioners? Okay. Thank you, sir.
I'll vote on Tyson.
We did.
I think we did.
Okay.
We did vote on William Tyson.
Did we completely vote on that?
I don't think we
got a
did.
motion for it.
I don't think we voted on
I don't think we voted on it.
I'm pretty sure we did, but just to make sure, all in favor of William Tyson be appointed to the I'm already going past that page. To the Transportation Board, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. He's now stuck with 2 terms.
He's definitely appointed. He's definitely appointed.
He's definitely appointed.
Double
If there's anybody in here kin to Mr. Tyson, if they would relate that to him.
There is.
appointment.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Next item, June 14th, next Tuesday, I believe, is County Assembly Day. It starts at 8:45 at the Museum of Natural History in Raleigh. If anyone is interested in going, if you've not already done so, please let Jason know. And if you'll let him know if you're not interested, he won't tackle you before you leave the meeting. We will probably meet at the Morgan Center, assuming there's enough people that would like to carpool, probably at around 6:45 that morning. There is a request from the district attorney's office. This was discussed last year, but he is making the same request to Scotland, Richmond, and Anson counties to allocate $25,000 of the existing funding that goes to mental health, to allocate 25,000 of that to the operation or to the development of a child advocacy center.
You need action.
Before that money can be allocated any differently than it is, it would take action of the board.
My question is, I think we fund East Point 178,000. Does that sound right, Kevin?
I think it's 78. Not including the ABC funds. The maintenance of effort amount is under $100,000.
Okay. Rather than drawing from that so that does not impact the Monarch services that are received in Scotland County, could that 25,000 come from someplace else?
That would be.
I mean, it's not a lot of money.
That would be an available general. That would be an available use of public dollars.
Well, that is my preference. I think that we should, I mean, the maintenance of effort to East Point is really, really very, very small for what is we have in return. So I would like to, I support the 25,000. My preference is that it not come from our maintenance of effort, that it come from general funds, since it's only 25,000. If they were asking a six-figure, I would have a different opinion, but I think since it's a small amount, that's my preference.
Are you making that in the form of a motion?
Well, I didn't know if we wanted to discuss it any. Well, I will make that motion that we support the Child Advocacy Center and that we allocate 25,000 toward it from general funds.
Is there a second? I will second that motion. Any discussion? And April, I'm going to ask you, is this the project that you gave us a great deal of information on sometime in the past year?
It is about this time last year.
Yeah, and my sense at the time was this was something we ought to be in favor of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, this week.
And so you would still be in favor of us making that move?
I am, and we still have monthly planning calls from, like I said, with the tri-county.
Okay.
Do we, April, have any other money committed to the Child Advocacy Center yet? Or is this our first?
Richmond County,
From
Scotland County does not.
This will be our first
Yes.
official support behind it.
Yes, sir.
Do they have a location in Richmond County in mind?
No, we've looked at different locations, even including Scotland.
Yeah, I knew
because
that.
It could be anywhere.
Mhm.
But there are some definite possibilities of shared space with the CAC having its own
Yeah.
entrance, because it has to be pretty private.
Yeah, it does.
And what are the three counties?
Richmond, Anson, Scotland.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I know that it's a lengthy explanation, but could Ms. Sneed kind of just share with the public what the Child Advocacy Center actually is?
Sure, a child's advocacy center. is when-
April, if you don't mind, to the microphone so that other folks can hear you too.
It's when, we have a child protective services investigation open and a child has been alleged to be neglected or abused or sexually abused. And so we we send these children typically with parental consent to have a physical examination and to be interviewed by a trained licensed social worker to see if there's any validity to those allegations. And so the nearest advocacy center we have is in Chapel Hill. And so having one in our area would save a lot of time for our social workers, time for families. It would loosen travel constraints. It would just be a big deal for these three counties.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions by board members, comments by board members?
I'm just happy that we will have access to that center, because it's well needed.
Right. Hearing, any other questions, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Go ahead.
The next item is, of course, the work session is scheduled for June 21st at 10 o'clock at the Morgan Center. If there are any other items that need to be, we will discuss the budget. There are some other items that will need to be done for cleaning up the end of the year. But if there are any other items that need to be discussed, if you'll let Jason know or let me know, we will make sure those scheduled. One conversation that I've had, and a discussion point, because Johnson is coming up regularly. It might be it was my recommendation that at the end of the budget discussion, the board recess, and then we actually go out to Johnson and look at the whole property, but specifically at the annex, that 10 classroom section outside. So the board could see that. We can invite our inspections department there to talk about the facility, some potential uses, as well as we can also invite the engineer that we have working on the project, have some conversations with them about some potential uses and what it would take to bring up that section as well. So the board would have that information. Not suggesting that you take any action on the 21st, but just go ahead and putting you in position to have to start a strategic visioning for that part of the facility.
And that would be a tour as part of that June 21st meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that would take approximately an hour, depending on questions.
It would be primarily discussion.
Okay.
And if not on the 21st, I would recommend that be scheduled in July.
Well, is from members of the board, or are we, we don't know how long that meeting's going to last anyway. But let's say if we can do it, and have that meeting and be done in maybe 3 hours, that we at least devote an hour at that time to go to Iles Johnson if we get through that quickly. Are everybody prepared to spend that hour that day?
We need to move the time up from 10 to 9. Does that make any difference to anybody?
We moved it up last time.
Yeah, it helped. Well,
Is it?
to help me, but it didn't help.
Well, does anybody have any thought? We moved it last time, but
Leave it at 10.
leave it at 10.
Leave it at 10.
I'll be traveling back in that morning.
Okay. I think 10 works better for some members of our group. Okay.
You finished?
The only other thing I have is just as a point of information for you, there will be a Transportation Advisory Committee organizational meeting. Janet Robertson basically the county has invited the municipalities and representatives to this meeting to find out who would be interested in being the municipal representative to the TAC with the COG. The results of that information, the results of that meeting will come back to the board on the 21st for appointment to the TAC.
Okay.
And that is all.
I have one question.
Okay.
When I get home this evening, somebody.
Betty, if you need to speak loud enough for everybody to hear you.
Someone from North Turnpike Project's gonna call me, and I'd like to have an idea of when, what kind of schedule we on with that project.
I don't have an updated schedule yet. I am going to be meeting with the engineers to sit down and talk about it. I'll be working with, probably working with Willis Engineering, who is the city of Laurinburg's primary engineers on this project, to develop next steps and plans coming forward.
So you have an idea when this would take place?
I
What
don't.
tentative time frame can I give them?
As soon as I have that scheduled, I should be able to have that next appointment scheduled this week.
Kevin, I have a question. On the meeting, on County Assembly Day, are you going, I know that there was conversation about a delegation going to Raleigh to speak with Representative Pierce, possibly Speaker Moore, on our request for money. We did that last year. So is that going to take place on June 14th, or are you going to separate that out from that? Because those reps are swamped on that particular day. And I
Right.
think we might have they might be better focused on us if they don't have people lined up out the door that are trying to get to them too. What were your thoughts on that?
With that, we'd look to, of course, meet with, we've already sent requests for all three for the 14th.
Okay.
But with that, we will be looking to determine the best ways of meeting. Because not only would we be looking to meet with our local representatives on that day, but see if, like last year, it was more beneficial not just to meet with Garland Pierce, but when Garland Pierce was able to get us to meet with
Speaker.
the speaker,
Right.
that was the benefit. So
Well, that's what I
when
understand.
we get that would be,
Well,
we'd still work for that objective.
I
Okay.
would assume that our lobbyist is going to arrange
Yes.
that.
I had conversations with Representative Pierce maybe 3 different times in the last week. One of those was maybe after 10 one night last week when he and our lobbyist were together and they were trying to arrange a meeting with the speaker at that time. So I don't, I have not heard back from
That
them.
probably sounds separate. I mean, County Assembly Day is a great day, and I think there's benefit to it. But it's also chaos
Yes.
when you've got 100 counties roaming around the legislative building trying to find their rep to talk to. We need to carve out a different time.
We will most likely not be able to meet with the speaker
On that day.
on that day.
No, that's,
That's realistic, I
You'll
think.
probably be hiding somewhere.
I'm not sure anything you accomplish that day is going to be beneficial.
But that, and also just with that, we have had conversations with our liaison, our now hired legislative liaison. With that, I'm going to be having weekly updates with them. They were scheduled to happen today, but then again, one of them came down with the flu, so today was just, he said, I'll call you later. I said, take the day off and feel better and we'll get back in line, because we had met Thursday of last week already. So they are already full. They are engaged in the project.
Okay. You good?
That's it.
This is normally the time during our meeting that we allow commissioners to kind of bring anything to the attention of the board or the public that they choose to. Commissioner BJ Gibson was on our public forum to make an announcement about an upcoming event, and I'm going to let him start.
Thank you.
I will limit you to the 3 minutes if I have to, but I don't think that's going to be necessary.
It's not necessary. Just wanted to share with our Board of Commissioners as well as the public that there is a committee working that is entitled the Juneteenth Committee. It is composed of members of the African American Heritage Committee, our local Ministerial Alliance, the Storytelling Arts Council, the North Carolina Arts Council, Scotland Youth Development, and the NAACP Youth and College Division. That committee is working to plan a county-wide Juneteenth celebration. In 2021, Juneteenth was made a federal holiday. And for those who don't know, Juneteenth is a celebration of the end of slavery in the United States that dates back to the 1800s or so, somewhere thereabout. And so we're wanting to ask your support. The event will be held on Sunday, June the 19th, and the flyer is in your packet. And I'll get it to Jason to make sure that we share it on our social media. But it will be downtown Main Street from 12 noon until 7 that evening. There'll be lots of food, craft vendors, exciting entertainment. A couple of highlights that we have is that at 1 o'clock, there will be a brunch honoring local seniors who are 80 years and older. The highlight of that luncheon is a citizen of Scotland County that is 101 that is supposed to be present. And then there's a youth pageant that'll be held from 2 o'clock until 3:30 that day.
You mentioned in here that there'll be food and craft vendors. Will the normal businesses be open on that day, or do you know?
Contact has been made with those businesses to ask and encourage that they be open.
Okay.
But I don't know that they have gotten contact.
Got any response? Okay. Okay. Anybody have any questions in regard to that? Thank you, Commissioner Gibson. Anything else, sir?
That's it.
Okay. Commissioner McCall? Mr. Ivy?
Just really short. It was a short conversation with Mr. McCallum from Partners in Ministry. Because I know we're approaching, what are we gonna do with that East Laurinburg building? And she wants to make sure that we know that they can get really good use out of that since it's right beside them.
Yeah, okay.
So, and I don't think we want to hold on to it for any longer. We have to. So, but anyway,
Okay.
throw that out.
Mr. Alford?
Have none.
Ms. Golston? Okay. I have nothing else. There's nothing else to come before this board. We will have a motion to recess till June 21st at 10 o'clock. We have a motion. Is there a second? A second by Commissioner McCall. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. All of you who joined us tonight, we appreciate very much you being here. We're better because of your presence. Thank you.
I'm officially giving you the Jimmy A. Gibson Award for running these.
He turned it off.
Did he turn it off?